In April of 2020, Rusev was released from the WWE and shortly after would debut in AEW as Miro to much excitement. And while this run started off well, it fell off and has never really recovered and has been in a state of stalemate for a couple of years now. So where did it all go wrong and why is this the case? Why has Miro disappeared off TV and nowhere to be found in AEW right now? We'll discuss all that and more, so like the video, subscribe, and let's get into it. Rusev was released from the WWE on April 15th, 2020 as part of budget cuts, and Rusev had been in the WWE system since 2010, and his run in the WWE overall was quite good. Especially the first few years from his main roster call-up were great, but towards the end of it he was definitely being misused, as WWE had failed to capitalize on him multiple times and Rusev was unhappy in the company, having requested his own release multiple times with WWE rejecting it before finally he was released in the budget cuts. And from the moment he was released from WWE, everyone knew exactly what was gonna happen next, and of course, on the September 9th episode of AEW Dynamite, the former Rusev, now known as Miro, would make his AEW debut. Upon his debut, he aligned himself with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford as their best man for their wedding, and the start of Miro's run in AEW was actually just kinda weird. He essentially pretty much had the gimmick of a gamer, and he was always playing an arcade machine at ringside. And a feud would kick off with the Best Friends stable in October after they accidentally broke the arcade cabinet, and this feud would, over an arcade machine, go on for months and months. I kid you not, this feud lasted about 6 months and it was all over an arcade machine. Miro would make his pay-per-view debut for AEW at Revolution 2021 in March, as himself and Kip Sabian defeated Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor, but on the March 31st episode of Dynamite weeks later, they would rematch in an Anarchy arcade tag match, which was essentially just like a 2v2 street fight but with arcade machines scattered all around the ringside area. It sounds wacky, and it definitely was, but it was a great match, and though Best Friends got the win to end the feud on top, it was definitely Miro's best match in AEW thus far, and it was good that this feud had finally ended, and it was time for Miro to do something else finally. As shortly after this, Miro would turn on Kip Sabian after attacking him, and Miro would become a lot more aggressive, dominant, and reawakened as a competitor. Miro soon after in May would challenge Darby Allin for his TNT title, and Miro would come out on top to win his first and only title in AEW. And Miro's TNT title reign was generational, legit one of my favourite TNT title reigns and one of my favourite ever title reigns in AEW. Miro during this run would start referring to himself as God's favourite champion, thanking his God for his dominance in matches and sporting a beautiful custom TNT title belt. Miro defended on TV against the likes of Dante Martin, Evil Uno, Brian Pillman Jr., Fuego del Sol and others, and also defended it on pay-per-view against Lance Archer and Eddie Kingston at Double or Nothing and All Out respectively. Miro would hold the title up until the 29th of September AEW Dynamite when he lost it to Sammy Guevara, which in my opinion was a bad decision. Miro lost it way too early into his run, and the TNT title did pretty much go to shit after this, so yeah, not a great decision. After this, Miro would go off TV for a little bit of time, but would return to enter the Full Gear World Title Eliminator Tournament in November, as he filled in for Jon Moxley. He defeated Orange Cassidy in the semi-finals, but in the finals was defeated by Bryan Danielson. And then after this, Miro would take even more time away to deal with a hamstring injury and other projects away from wrestling. He'd return in June of 2022, just in time to qualify for a 4-way match at Forbidden Door to crown the first ever All-Atlantic champion. This match was of course won by Pac, and after this, Miro's appearances with AEW would be more sparse again, as he essentially disappeared again until the build up to All Out, when he was randomly booked in a 6-man tag alongside Darby Darby and Sting as they defeated the House of Black at All Out in a very random match like I said. And then after this, Miro would disappear off TV again, and this time for even longer than before, and not because of any injury. Miro would go absent for months again unexplained after All Out, and it was reported that the reason for this was that AEW didn't have any creative plans for him, and then later it was reported that Miro had actually turned down creative plans for a return. The plan involved Miro returning in a battle royal where he would finish runner-up, losing to Adam Page, but he turned it down, which definitely didn't speed up his return. Miro's return wouldn't take place all the way until the May 10th, 2023 Dynamite, an over 8-month absence. And a week later, AEW would announce their new weekly show Collision, and with that came a loose roster split being enforced, with certain guys and girls being exclusive to Collision, including Miro. Basically, AEW just put all the backstage troublemakers on Collision at the start of it. Miro would get going on Collision and start picking up steam, but quickly once again, it seemed like AEW had no plans for him, as at first he was just squashing people, and then his wrestling appearances became more occasional once again. He would start a feud with Powerhouse Hobbs in the lead up to All In/All Out, which felt like his first proper program in ages, and they had a match at All Out, which ended up being an awesome match and potentially the match of the night, as the crowd was super hot for the slapping of meat. He'd continue on through the end of the year and would start feuding with Andrade, who had Miro's wife at the time, CJ Perry, by his side, aka the former Lana from WWE, and the two had a match set for the World's End pay-per-view at the end of the year, which was set to be Andrade's final AEW match. And Miro would pick up the victory in this match with help from CJ Perry, but right after this, can you guess what happened? Well, of course, Miro disappeared from AEW TV once again, and we haven't seen him since. Miro took to social media to say he had been working injured since September, and after this, he was then taken off TV, which is puzzling because why was he working with an injury for that long? And Miro did clarify that this was a shoulder injury that he was recovering from. It was also said in April that Miro was behind schedule in recovery, but it was reported recently in August that Miro had returned to the United States, so a return could potentially be on the way soon. But man, what a flat run it has been for Miro in AEW ever since he lost that TNT title belt. It feels like he lost it, and AEW had no plans what to do with him after, and when they finally came up with something, Miro said, "That's not gonna work for me, brother." His reign as TNT champion was genuinely one of the best things in AEW ever, I really do believe that. But since losing the TNT title, Miro has only had 13 matches in AEW since then. In fact, in his entire AEW run of 4 years, he's only had 36 matches, and most of Miro's time in AEW has been spent off TV. I really hope when Miro returns to AEW they can find a spot for him, but also that he's willing to work and receptive to plans and not refusing to lose to people. I mean, look at Swerve for an example. He did everything asked of him, put people over, and as a result, got over himself. I'm definitely very interested to see what they do with Miro when he comes back, but I just can't see him ever reaching the heights he did in AEW before when he was God's favorite champion. When he lost his TNT title, that was the time to then elevate him to the next level and go on to the next big thing, but it feels as though he really did nothing meaningful since. And Miro has proven that he can go in the ring and is a great worker. Like I said before, his match with Hobbs at All Out was awesome and proof of that. And of course, Miro is also a brilliant talker and works great in storylines and feuds, and so realistically it shouldn't be hard to find something for him to do, but of course, this is the wrestling business. When Miro returns to AEW, who knows, but hopefully we can see him bounce back in AEW, and for the love of God, just be on TV regularly and not disappear for months at a time. That's it from me though, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Miro's run in AEW so far and what you think needs to improve and change in Miro's AEW run thus far. Like the video if you enjoyed this video talking about Miro's AEW run. Subscribe to the channel for more wrestling content. I'll see you all in the future. Goodbye and keep on rolling.